My name is Sheldon Sherman. On August 14, 2022, I was exactly 8 years and 4 months old. We lived in a small brick ranch house in Plano, Texas. It was one of those afternoons where the sun is so mean it feels like it's trying to push you into the ground, and the only thing you can hear in the house is the click 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 of the big fan in the corner of the living room. I remember sitting on the carpet, trying to color in my book, but my hands started feeling real heavy. Not tired like I'd been playing outside, but heavy like they were made of wet clay or lead. I didn't feel sick, like when you have a cold. I didn't sneeze or have a runny nose. I just felt a big, hollow spot of ice opening up right in the middle of my chest. I looked up at my mom. She was sitting on the sofa, looking at her phone and tapping the screen, probably stressed about work or the bills. I tried to tell her that the whole room was tilting sideways, like a boat on the water. But when I opened my mouth, no words came out. Instead, I got this sharp, sour taste in my throat. It tasted like I had been sucking on a copper penny. I remember the exact second my eyes started to get dark. The edges of the room didn't go black. They turned a flat, dusty gray. My heart did something really scary then. It didn't beat fast. It felt like a tiny bird trapped inside a cardboard box, flapping its wings real quick and then just stopping. I watched my favorite crayon, the one called Midnight Blue, roll away from my hand. I tried to grab it, but my fingers wouldn't even twitch. I felt a big, silent pressure behind my eyes, and then the floor just went away. I wasn't falling. I was just suddenly up high. I could see the top of my mom's head, the way her hair was parted, and I saw her drop her phone. It hit the wood floor with a loud crack that sounded like a gun going off. She hadn't seen me yet. She was looking at a text message with a mean face, the way she did when she was mad at Dad. I wanted to yell, "Mom, look down," because I was slumped over the coffee table, but I was already drifting through the ceiling, past the insulation and the roof, into the hot, white sky. It didn't feel like a tunnel of light. It was more like when a radio changes from music to loud static. 1 second I was above my house, and the next I was standing in a hallway. It looked just like the North Texas Medical Center, but it was way too quiet. It didn't smell like flowers or heaven. It smelled like that lemon floor wax and hospital soap. I saw myself. I was lying on a rolling bed, and a nurse named Brenda, I saw her name on a plastic tag, was screaming code blue into a phone. Her hands were shaking so hard her knuckles were white. I watched the metal cart hit the door frame. I saw the doctor, a man who looked like he hadn't slept in a week, press these big plastic paddles to my chest. My body jumped. It looked like a doll, something empty and broken that somebody had just thrown away. It felt really weird to know that the me on the table was just a shell, and the me standing in the corner was the one who was actually awake, even though I wasn't breathing anymore. "She's in VFib," the doctor said. His voice was flat and scary, like he was reading a manual. "Charge to 100. Clear." I felt the shock, even from the corner. It didn't hurt, but it was like a hook caught in my shirt, trying to yank me back into that heavy, clay body. I didn't want to go. The whole room started to shake. The lights on the ceiling didn't flicker. They started to hum so loud I could feel it in my teeth. I looked away from the bed and toward the sliding glass doors of the ICU. They didn't lead to the lobby anymore. They opened into a place that was perfectly still. The light didn't come from a bulb. It was just everywhere. Standing right there by the hand sanitizer on the wall was a man. He wasn't glowing like a cartoon. He was wearing a dusty work shirt, and his hands were rough, with dirt under the nails like someone who worked with wood or stones all day. He looked at me, and for the first time since my heart stopped, that ice in my chest finally melted. He didn't say anything at first. He just walked toward me, his feet making no sound on the floor. As he got closer, all the noise in the hospital room, the doctors yelling and the machines beeping, started to sound like it was deep underwater. The sound of the shock machine charging up became a distant hum. He stopped right in front of me. He looked younger than the pictures in my Sunday school books, but his eyes were so heavy. They made me feel like I was 1,000 years old, and he was the one who had been waiting for me since forever. "Sheldon," he said. His voice wasn't like thunder. It was the sound a dad makes when he comes home late and whispers so he doesn't wake the kids up. It was real, and it sounded a little raspy. He reached out and put his hand on my shoulder. It felt more real than the carpet in my living room or the Texas sun. It was solid. He looked back at my body on the table, where the doctor was pushing on my chest with all his weight. I could hear my ribs popping under his hands. I should have been scared, but the man's hand on my shoulder was like a wire that sucked all the fear out of me and buried it in the floor. "They are trying very hard," he said, nodding at the doctors. "But we have to talk about the leaning, Sheldon. We have to talk about the middle ground." I didn't know what leaning or middle ground meant. I looked down at his feet. He was wearing sandals that were stained with red dirt from somewhere that wasn't Plano. There was a scar on the top of his foot, a jagged, messy mark that looked like it never healed right. He saw me looking and he didn't try to hide it. He just gripped my shoulder a little tighter to make sure I was paying attention. Then the hospital walls started to get thin, like they were made of smoke. I could see our church back home, specifically the room where the elders sit. The walls didn't disappear. They just became like a layer of thin, dirty glass. I could see the elders' room at Grace Community, where my dad is a deacon. It was a Tuesday night in the vision, and it was raining outside. I could smell the wet pavement even though I was in a hospital. I saw Pastor Greg sitting at the head of the big table. He had his tie pulled loose and was rubbing his head. He looked tired, but not like a holy person, just like a salesman who hadn't sold enough stuff. "They're leaning, Sheldon," the man said. I watched my dad stand up in the vision. He was holding a big book of numbers, and his face was red. He was arguing about the new youth wing, but he wasn't talking about the kids. He was talking about market share and optics. He looked at Pastor Greg, and I saw something dark in my dad's eyes. It wasn't mean, but it was cold, like he was doing math instead of praying. The man leaned in, and his breath smelled like rain and wood. "This is the compromise," he whispered. "They think they are building." They all shook hands and smiled, but the cracks started to spread like a spider web across the floor, crawling toward the pulpit. The man didn't look mad. He looked really, really sad, like a gardener looking at a tree that was dying from the inside. "They are trading the truth for a comfortable seat at a table that isn't mine," he said. The hospital lights flashed once, real hard, and the boardroom disappeared. The scene changed again, but it wasn't the church. It was my own house, but it was in the future. I saw myself sitting at the dinner table. The silence was so thick it felt like I had cotton stuck in my ears. My mom was staring at her plate, moving her peas around in a circle with her fork. My dad was looking at his phone, his jaw tight like he was clenching his teeth. "The warning is personal now," the man said. I felt his voice vibrate in my back. In the vision, my dad's phone buzzed. It was a message from the bank. A red, overdue notice for a loan he'd taken out to pay for his part of the church project. He hadn't told Mom. I saw the lie sitting between them on the table like a big, gray stone that they were both trying to ignore. My dad looked up, and for a split second, he looked right through the future me and directly at the dead me standing with the man. His eyes were full of a quiet terror. He was losing everything he tried to save because he made a deal he shouldn't have. Because he chose the middle ground, the man explained, he has lost the solid ground. He thought he could keep both the look of faith and the safety of the world. But the world is a hungry ghost, Sheldon. It takes and takes, and it leaves you empty. Suddenly, the kitchen started to warp. The walls of our house began to peel away like old stickers, showing the same black cracks I'd seen in the church floor. My mom finally looked up and her voice cracked. "We're going to lose the house, aren't we?" My dad didn't answer. He just looked back at his screen. The compromise wasn't just a big word anymore. It was the reason my mom was crying. The man turned me away, and his face got real serious and intense. We were back in the hospital. The doctor had stopped pushing on me. He was looking at the clock, and his shoulders were slumped down. Nurse Brenda was biting her lip, and her eyes were shiny with tears. I felt a sudden, desperate need to jump back into that body, to scream and let them know I was right there. "Wait," the man said. He stepped between me and the bed. The air around him started to shimmer with a heat that made the Texas summer feel like a breeze. "You have to understand why I am showing you this. The title of your life is being rewritten by people who are afraid to be different. He took my small hands in his big, scarred ones. The compromise is like a slow poison. It's the pastor who ignores the truth to keep the money coming in. It's the father who lies to keep the peace. It's the child who stays quiet when they see the crack in the floor. I looked at him, my eyes wide. What happens if they don't stop? The outcome is decided by the foundation, he said, and his voice rang out like a big bell. If the foundation is built on fitting in, the house will fall when the storm of 2026 gets here. It won't be a rainstorm, Sheldon. It will be a storm of the spirit. People who made deals will find their lamps are empty. They will reach for the truth, but their hands will only find the lies they've been telling. He leaned down until we were eye to eye. The warning is this: you cannot walk two paths. You cannot serve the light while holding hands with the dark under the table. Tell them that the middle ground is a graveyard. It's where souls go to fall asleep before they die. The room started to spin. The grip on my hands got tighter, and I felt a power that felt like it could hold the stars together. It wasn't a choice anymore. I was being sent back with a weight in my chest heavier than death. It was the weight of a secret that was about to become real. The hospital room didn't look like a room anymore. It looked like a TV screen with bad reception. The doctor was just a blur of blue clothes, and the beep 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 of the heart monitor was stretching out into one long, sad sound. The man's hands were the only solid thing left. He wouldn't let go. "You can stay, Sheldon," he said. His voice was the only clear thing. "There is no more heaviness here. No more copper taste. No more watching your dad's hands shake over a bank app. You can walk with me now." I looked past him, and for a second, I saw a field that went on forever. It wasn't a park, but a wild, golden place that smelled like every good memory I ever had. The peace there was so strong it felt like it was pulling me in. I wanted to go. I wanted to leave the Plano heat and the cracks behind. But then, I looked back at the bed. My mom had finally been let into the room. She wasn't screaming. She was just standing there, her face looking like gray stone. She looked so small. She looked like she was breaking in slow motion. "But if you go back," the man said, his voice dropping to a whisper, "you carry the weight. You will see the cracks before anyone else. You will see the lie in the smile. You will have to say the words no one wants to hear." I looked at my mom's shaking shoulders and then back at the man's scarred feet. I realized the middle ground wasn't just for the adults. I could choose the easy piece of staying or the hard truth of going back. I reached out and touched the scar on his wrist. It was warm, really warm. "I have to tell them," I whispered. The second I said it, the golden field vanished. The man smiled, but it was a sad smile. He pressed his thumb against my forehead. "Then remember the sound of the crack," he said, and then everything hurt. Going back wasn't like floating. It was like being in a car crash. I was in a place with the best love ever, and then I was slammed into a body that felt like it was made of heavy lead. My lungs burned like I had swallowed broken glass. My chest felt like it had been crushed by a big machine. I heard a wet, rattling sound and realized it was me trying to breathe. "We have a pulse," someone yelled. It was Brenda. Her voice sounded like a record playing too fast. I opened my eyes, but the hospital lights were like needles in my head. They were too bright and fake compared to the light I just left. I tried to talk, to tell them about the man and the cracks, but all that came out was a weak sob. My mom was suddenly right there, her face over mine, her tears hot and salty on my skin. She kept saying, "Thank God," but her voice sounded thin. As they rolled me to a different room, I saw my dad in the hallway. He was leaning against the vending machine, his face pale. He looked happy I was alive, but underneath that, he had the same face I saw in the vision. He was squeezing his phone so hard his knuckles were white. He wasn't looking at me, he was looking at a text. I felt a cold shiver that wasn't from the air conditioner. The me that died was gone, but the me that came back had a vision that made the hospital walls look like wet cardboard. I watched a spider crawl on the ceiling, and its legs looked just like the cracks in the church floor. 3 weeks later, I was back in our seat at Grace Community. My ribs still hurt when I breathed, a reminder of the hook that pulled me back. The church smelled like expensive coffee and perfume. Everyone was smiling and calling me a miracle. They patted my head and gave me stickers, but I couldn't smile back. All I could see was the stage. Pastor Greg was up there, talking about the season of expansion. He had a new silver suit that caught the lights. He wasn't talking about the man with the scarred feet. He was talking about leverage and legacy. He talked about 2026 like it was a finish line for a race we were winning. But I looked at the floor under his feet. I was the only one who saw it. A thin, black line started to bleed out from under the wooden stage. It didn't look like a real crack. It looked like a rip in the room. It snaked through the front row and stopped right at my dad's feet. My dad shifted around, fixing his tie, his eyes looking for a way out. He knew. The compromise he made, the money he moved to keep the expansion going, was shaking the air around him. "The middle ground is a graveyard," the man's voice said in my head, as clear as if he were sitting next to me in the pew. I grabbed my dad's hand. It was sweaty and shaking. He looked at me, and for a second, the mask fell off. He didn't see a miracle, he saw a witness. He pulled his hand away and pretended to look at his Bible. The music got loud and happy, but to me it sounded like a funeral. The building was growing, but the air was getting harder to breathe. I looked at the red exit signs and realized the warning wasn't just for the future. It had already started. I caught my dad in his office on a Tuesday night. I was standing in the dark hallway. The glow from his computer made him look like a ghost. He wasn't reading the Bible. He was looking at a contract from a big company. It didn't say ministry. It said commercial development. I saw the big numbers and the part that said the church had to stay quiet about certain things to get a tax break. This was the middle ground. My dad's finger hung over the mouse, his face twisting. "If you sign that," I whispered. He jumped so hard his chair hit the desk. He looked at me with eyes that were red and angry. "Sheldon, go to bed." He tried to hide the window, but I saw the black smoke curling off the screen. "He told me about the leaning, Dad," I said. "He said you were trading the truth for a seat at a table that isn't his." My dad turned white. He didn't ask who he was. He just stared at me. The office got cold, just like the hospital. He looked at the mouse, then at me, and I saw him choose. He clicked the button, and the computer made a happy ding that felt like a bell at a funeral. By the winter of 2025, the new building was done, but our house felt empty. My parents didn't yell. They were just quiet. My mom had found the other bank account, the one for the development deal, and the trust was just gone. We were at Thanksgiving dinner, but no one was eating. "The church is record-breaking," Mom said, her voice sounding like glass ready to break. Dad just nodded at his plate. "We're set for a big 2026. I looked at the window. The sky was a dark purple. I saw the man standing by my old swing set. He was looking at the horizon where big, heavy clouds were coming in. He looked through the glass at me and pointed at the table. I looked down. A crack was moving across the middle of our dining table. My parents didn't see it, but when it hit my dad's water glass, it tipped over. The water turned a murky gray and smelled like that hospital floor wax. "It's starting," I said. Mom looked at me scared. "What's starting, Sheldon?" "The storm he showed me," I said. "The one where the lamps are empty." My dad slammed his hand down to stop the water, but the crack just got wider. The wood made a loud groaning sound. He looked at me and he finally knew. The deal didn't save us. It just built a pretty cage for the rot. It's March 2026 now. To everyone else, the world looks the same, but the middle ground is gone. This morning, I walked past Grace Community. The legacy wing is all shiny glass. But the front steps, the ones Dad helped build, are split in half. It wasn't the ground settling. The earth just gave way, leaving a big, dark hole. I looked into the gap. There was a plastic Member of the Year plaque with my dad's name on it, sitting in the mud. It was peeling, showing cheap gray plastic under the gold paint. Dad lost his job yesterday. Not for the lies, but because the company pulled the money, saying the building wasn't safe. We're losing the house next month. Mom is packing boxes, her face dry and empty. The silence in our house isn't a choice anymore. It's just how it is. I sat on the curb and looked at the broken steps. People walked by, mad about the construction. not knowing that the broken stone was just a mirror of what was happening inside. I felt the smooth stone in my pocket from the hospital. It was cold. The man didn't come to save the building. He came to tell me the building was a lie. I looked at the sky, waiting for rain, but it was just heavy and dry. I thought about the middle ground being a graveyard. I stood up, left my dad's plaque in the mud, and walked toward a house that isn't ours anymore. Behind me, a piece of the wall fell off and hit the ground. "Thud, this is what I was shown," I whispered. The wind picked up, smelling like cedar and floor wax.
If this message felt important, it probably was. There are more stories like this, and they only get deeper. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next one, because some warnings aren't meant to be ignored.